Hi, welcome to our TED Talk. So obviously the question is, how can we find American Romanticism in modern America today, and how does it influence us Americans as well? So I would just like to ask, what type of media are we drawn to? Usually the answers will vary and people will say, oh, like I like action movies, or I like music, or whatever. But you can generally get consensus that most people are drawn to horror movies, to thrillers, to psychological terrors. And that is because of American Romanticism, more specifically Dark Romanticism and Gothicism. So for example, one of the most popular traits of Dark Romanticism is humans gravitating towards evil, and obviously we can see this anywhere, but more specifically and more prevalently in horror movies. So you have movies such as The Strangers, where these random people break into this couple's house, they torture them, and then they eventually kill them, all because that couple was there. That is obviously very evil. Normal people just don't go out and do that. Also, you have movies like Orphan and Hostel. So Orphan is about this woman who pretends to be a little girl, and she obviously tortures and kills people, such as Hostel, where these American tourists get captured and tortured and killed. Obviously, those are all very evil. They're obviously, those are significant traits. Another characteristic of Dark Romanticism that can be found in horror movies today is punishment. Now, one of the most obvious examples of this that can be found in horror movies is the Saw movies, really. Obviously you have this man who takes these people, he tortures them, sometimes kills them based on his own beliefs, and sometimes how he views punishment towards others. You also have the movie Drag Me to Hell, where a woman is punished by demonic forces for not being a good person, really. And then once again you have the strangers, which I explained before. So those are all examples of punishment that can be found that we all want to look away from, but we can't, so we watch it. And then next, another example of Dark Romanticism are the psychological effects of sins and guilt. An example of this would also be Saw again. You have these people who, if they survive these encounters, these tortures, they think about what they've done in life and all the bad doing that they've done, and that in turn can have some really deep psychological effects on them, whether they're good or bad, whether they change or they don't. Some more examples of Gothicism are graphic morbidity and terror, and how that can explore the darker parts of life and how people can be truly evil sometimes. So some great examples are the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You have this man who goes out and kills these teenagers down in Texas, and he goes out, kills them, he brings this one girl back to the family. The family are these crazy cannibals. They're just absolutely crazy. And you have these movies that really provide an adrenaline rush, but also uncovered the deeper parts and the darker parts of humanity that we just don't want to look at. And we have all these movies really to thank because of Dark Romanticism and Gothicism.
Humans as a society are naturally drawn to Gothicism and Dark Romanticism in all the horror movies that we see. It's kind of like a car crash effect. You want to look away because it's so bad and it's so nasty and horrible and terrible, but you can't look away. During the 20th century, horror cinematography massively contributed to the growth of its popularity. And in early Gothic literature, the most significant pioneers were silent films from the German Expressionist era. For some people, horror movies can be an escape. They can have people live out their fantasies. They can have people realize what their fears are. For some people, it could be clowns, like in the movie It. That was a big horror movie that made so many people afraid of clowns. They also can overcome their fears through horror movies by watching them. And throughout time and generations, horror movies have molded themselves to stay relevant. They have grown with the population, just like how in Gothic Romanticism, it was German Impressionism, like silent films were the popular, like, thing for everyone to go see.
Every year, the genre of horror generates millions of dollars. In 1973, it was $232.9 million, with one of the major movies being The Exorcist. In 1987, it was $293.6 million. More recently, in the year 2017, it generated $233.5 million, with the top movies being Get Out and It.